All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to step into a classroom that's, well, it's unlike any other. This is a place where the main subject is your soul, and your final grade literally determines your eternity.
So I want you to imagine you're back in high school, except the hallways are lined with lifetimes, not lockers. And when that final bell rings, it's not dismissing you for summer break, it's dismissing you from your physical life. In this soul school, there's really only one question that matters. What happens when it's all over for good? The spiritual guide here, a being they call SOS, just lays it all out. The entire point of this whole experience, this school, is for your soul to grow up and become its own independent creative force. And the only way to get there? Self-mastery. If you don't walk that path, you're going to find yourself right back at your desk lifetime after lifetime.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the pushback from the students sounds, well, it sounds pretty familiar, right? One student, Rev, just kind of shrugs and goes, "So what? I've got plenty of time to learn this stuff in a future life." And his buddy Diesel, he just leans back and says what we've all thought about homework. Self-mastery. It just sounds like way too much trouble. But SOS makes it clear. This isn't about getting a good grade. It's about forging the power to even exist in the afterlife.
See, this isn't about getting detention or failing a test. Choosing to do nothing, deciding to just put it all off, that comes with a seriously steep price.
And then SOS just drops this absolute bombshell. For the souls that totally rebel, the ones who just refuse to even try to grow, they might have to wait 10,000 years for another body, another chance.
Seriously, just let that number sink in. 10,000 years. And Rev, the kid who was so chill about it a second ago, he suddenly sits bolt upright. "Ouch," he says, his voice kind of shaky. "What are we supposed to do for 10,000 years without a body?"
And that's the horrifying answer. You're basically a ghost in limbo. And all those things you're hooked on, addictions, grudges, attachments, they're still there, stuck to your soul. But here's the thing, without a body, you can't satisfy any of them. And you can't overcome them either. You're just trapped. A conscious mind in a prison you built yourself.
And just like that, the whole vibe in the room just flips. You can feel it. This isn't some boring lecture anymore. This is real. This is their future. It's this collective light bulb moment where they all realize, wait a minute, we don't want to be powerless. We want to be strong. The question finally shifts from, why do we have to do this, to, okay, how do we do this?
So in response to that question, SOS lays out the first option. You could call this the official school curriculum. It's the direct path to becoming that powerful, independent soul they all suddenly want to be.
It's actually a pretty structured system. You get this thing called a virtue sash, and your job is to fill it up. First, you earn 24 badges for mastering virtues, things like courage and honesty. After that, you've got 12 medals for wisdom. And finally, you can gain 9 superpowers through some seriously advanced spiritual work. And the whole point of all this? To literally weave something called a mystic body, a vessel that will house your soul when you leave this life.
But of course, not everyone is excited about all that hard work. Another student, Abby, she speaks up with a totally different idea. It's a path that isn't about mastering yourself, but about completely surrendering to a higher power. Abby's whole perspective is, a huge relief from all that pressure. Why bother doing all the work, she says, when you can just believe? Wishing is easier than wisdom, she argues. Her path has nothing to do with earning badges. It's about having faith that a creator will just give her a mansion in heaven and make her perfect, while all the non-believers get left behind. It's salvation through faith alone. Now, this path has its own sash, but instead of virtues, it displays 10 core beliefs. The big ideas here are that your soul never really changes, that you're basically a sinner who needs a savior to make you perfect, and that pure, blind belief is way more important than actually developing wisdom or virtue yourself. All your mistakes just get magically wiped away. You're essentially outsourcing your entire spiritual journey.
Okay, but there's still a third option on the table. If the first path is about discipline, and the second is about faith, this last one is about pure, unfiltered freedom. And it's championed by none other than our friend Diesel.
Diesel's not interested in mastery or faith. He doesn't want to follow a list of virtues, and he definitely doesn't want to follow a savior. He wants to follow his own ego, his own impulses, no matter where they go. He even calls his personal values perversions, and he says it with pride like it's a badge of honor. So what would be on the rebel's sash? Well, Diesel lays out his own set of badges, and they include things like claiming the right to abuse your own body, believing ignorance is a perfectly fine excuse, that lying is just plain easier,
And my personal favorite, that nothing is ever your fault. It's a worldview built entirely on self-gratification and protecting the ego at all costs.
And it doesn't just stop with the badges. Oh no, the Rebel Path has its own version of superpowers too, which Diesel calls dark magic. But these skills aren't about inner growth. They're all about external control. The power to intimidate people, to curse your enemies, to use rage to get what you want, and to take whatever you desire from others.
So, there you have it. The students, and really all of us, are standing at a crossroads. 3 completely different philosophies on how to live this life and what to expect in the next one.
Let's just break it down one more time. You've got the path of mastery. The goal is an independent soul, the method is hard work, and the outcome is your own self-made mystic body. Then there's the path of belief. The goal is salvation, the method is faith, and the outcome is leaving your fate in someone else's hands. And finally, the path of rebellion. The goal is total freedom, the method is indulgence, and the outcome, well, it's either becoming a being of pure ego or that 10,000-year timeout we talked about.
So what exactly is this mystic body, this grand prize from the first path? SOS calls it a solar body, and it's described as a garment of pure light, woven together from all the wise and virtuous energy you've built up. Think about that. It's not just a ride, it's your identity, your power, and your consciousness all wrapped into one, and it gets brighter and bigger the more your soul evolves. After hearing all 3 pitches, the student body makes their decision. They turn away from the passivity of just believing and the dead end of rebellion. They stand together and declare that they want the skills. They want to be powerful, creative souls. They choose mastery.
And that really just leaves one final question for you. If you were handed that sash when you started your time in Soul School, what would you want it to show? Would it be covered in the badges of virtues you mastered, the core beliefs of a faith you hold dear, or the symbols of a radical freedom you demand? In the end, the path you choose and the sash you weave, that's all on you.